Well, I was drinking a liquor by the Accra Cabana last night.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio. This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio 99.1 FM.
Good day, welcome to News at Noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Making top story today, Exxon taking back 2% royalty paid to Guyana. Arrangement also reduces taxes due to GRA. Supermarket thieves nabbed in bushes hiding from police. Abandoned 15-year-old lookout in car. Rams Logistics says denied local content certificate as the PSC expresses concerns about bundling of contracts. And Victoria teen died of multiple injuries, not drowning, according to the autopsy. And opposition takes protests to office of the president over Sioux revelation. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Go loud or go home. Never miss out on your favorite local radio segments, local and international podcasts, and DJ mixes.
That's right.
With the Go Loud app. Discover podcasts like Common Sense, Red Table Talk, The Breakfast Club, and the best mixes from DJs worldwide, and much more. Stream all of your favorite local radio stations in one app. Go loud on what matters to you. Download the Go Loud app in the App or Play Store today and start listening.
And now for the news in detail. ESSO, under its production sharing agreement with the government, is robbing Guyana in more ways than one, a contention agreed to by Vice President Bharat Jagdeo on Tuesday, when he described the arrangement as lopsided. While differing on the ways with which the defects can be remedied, the Vice President also sought to bring clarity to a looming issue, namely whether ESSO can recover the 2% royalty it is supposed to pay to the country on every barrel of oil produced and sold from the Stabroek block. Since the first part of the Vice President's answer, that under the laws of Guyana, the royalty is listed as a tax deductible for tax purposes. What this means is that the royalty is a tax-deductible expense for ESSO. This means that the royalty is paid out of ExxonMobil Guyana's expenses. This much is corroborated in ESSO's own financial statements. A royalty payment in the oil or gas process is a percentage of production paid to the owner of the resource, minus production costs. Under the PSA, expenses are recovered by the company out of the 75% of the oil produced that is set aside as cost oil, for which recoverable amounts are to be paid. The PSA does not in any way spell out that royalty is not recoverable, which, based on the provisions of the contract, ESSO recovers its expenses that include the royalty paid to Guyana. In other news, a 15-year-old lookout was abandoned in a car on Tuesday by his adult accomplices after police ranks next a burglary attempt at the New Era General Supermarket located at Farm, East Bank, Demerara. The two accomplices, aged 20 and 25, did not get far in their attempt to escape, but were eventually captured by the ranks while hiding out in some bushes close by. According to the Ghana Police Force, ranks on the east bank of Demerara were able to foil their burglary plans around 5 hours. The Providence Police Station reportedly received a call from an unknown person around 4 hours 15, informing them that some thieves were breaking into the supermarket. Get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. Meanwhile, Trinidadian-owned Ramps Logistics Guyana Inc. has complained that it was denied a local content certificate. According to a statement, Ramps said it is a leading provider of freight forwarding and supply chain management services. Meanwhile, the Private Sector Commission, in a statement, highlighted its concern over the bundling of contracts in the oil sector, thereby hindering local businesses from participating in tenders for the provision of services or goods. On Wednesday, the business body, in a statement, said it supports the government of Guyana's intention to take strong action against entities found attempting to evade the local content law. The opposition coalition has reiterated its firm position that any review into the contentious 2020 general elections should be conducted by GCOM. However, in light of the recently announced Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the contentious election, the PNCR is demanding that the government, opposition coalition, and Commission of Inquiry commissioners collectively determine the terms of reference to guide the process and ensure some sense of fairness regarding the review. The PNCR, during a press conference yesterday, said that neither the party nor its coalition partners was consulted regarding the president's decision to hold the COI or to identify those serving on the commission, despite the impact the review could have on all those concerned. And moving on, a post-mortem examination conducted on the remains of 19-year-old Simon Jones, formerly of Victoria, East Coast Demerara, revealed that he did not die by drowning. It was reported by the police earlier this month that Jones allegedly drowned while attempting to swim across the Ikiriku River, located in the Upper Mazaruni area. The post-mortem report, which was shared by the young man's relatives, stated that he died of multiple injuries. Relatives now believe that there is more to Jones' death. One of his uncles said yesterday that before Jones' body was discovered in the river, what the family learned was that he was involved in an altercation with a man from the area. Confirming the post-mortem report was Commander of Region 7, Dion Moore, who also related that investigation into the teen's death is still ongoing. Sion Russell, the man accused of fatally shooting his co-worker late last month, was on Tuesday remanded to prison after being charged with murder. 35-year-old Russell, called Basha of Aliki, Essequibo River, made his first court appearance in the Bartica Magistrates Court before Magistrate Crystal Lambert, where the charge was read to him. Russell was not required to plead to the charge, which alleges that on May 28 at Tiger Creek, Essequibo River, Region 7, he murdered 29-year-old Rohit Hansraj of Wakenham, Region 3. After he was remanded to prison, Magistrate Lambert then adjourned the matter to July 14th. We had reported that the father of two was killed following an argument which he had with the suspect. The men were employed with Tulsi Prasad Logging Company as operators and were very good friends. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 8 in Guyana. You're listening to The Radio with a Difference. We'll take a short break and return.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Building cement board, and sheetrock are now zero rated, following an order signed on May 17, 2022 by Senior Minister within the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh. The zero rated status enables suppliers to reclaim any VAT paid at the time the order was issued, while also ensuring that these materials are sold to consumers VAT-free. For more information, contact GRA's Tax Advisory Services section on 227-6060 extension 8000. Check out our YouTube channel or visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn to learn more.
Welcome back. Let's continue with the news. Leaders and supporters of the PNCR and the AFC on Wednesday protested at the office of the president, demanding that Vice President Bharat Jagdeo vacate his office and an independent investigation be conducted into the allegations leveled against him in a damning Vice News report. In the Vice News documentary, the VP's friend Susie Rong is heard telling the undercover journalists that Jagdeo collects bribes to get business done in the country. Speaking to reporters during the public demonstration was AFC Member of Parliament Doretha Fernandes, who insisted that the allegation cannot be merely swept under the rug. The MP pointed out that in no other part of the world does a person exonerate themselves from an allegation by claiming, "Based on this, I have been cleared." Also on the protest line were opposition members of Parliament Sherrod Duncan, Christopher Jones, and Tabitha Sarabu Haley. Further, he reasoned that the Vice President is yet to explain to the nation what exactly he meant when he said that his Chinese friend has all the support and handles all the business. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, the sod was turned for the $300 million Vredenhoop Shore Base, Inc., which will sit on 400 hectares of coastal land. The shore base is being constructed by NRG Holdings Incorporated, a 100% Guyanese-owned consortium, along with Hattie's World Incorporated, National Hardware Limited, and ZRN Investments Incorporated are the Guyanese investors involved in the project. They have partnered with Jan de Nul Group, a Belgian engineering and construction firm, which offers marine services, offshore service, civil engineering, environmental management activities, and project development. In other news, scores have been forced to evacuate their homes as massive floods hit Kwakwani, Upper Berbice Region 10, Madia, Region 8, and a number of communities along the Kaieteur River, Region 7. Last year, these and other regions across Guyana suffered after the country recorded the highest amount of rainfall in decades. As the country is currently in its May-June rainy season, the floods have returned and while many are scampering to higher grounds, the Civil Defense Commission, in a release, stated that government ministers will be visiting to the affected areas to deliver food hampers and sanitation hampers. Meanwhile, an unvaccinated 85-year-old woman from Region 2 is the country's latest COVID-19 fatality. As a result of this, Guyana's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 1,249. 107 new infections were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 66,695. 2 patients are admitted into the ICU, 22 persons are in institutional isolation, 831 in home isolation, and 1 in institutional quarantine. It is now 12 hours 13. We now head over to page 7 of today's Kaieteur News that is dedicated to being blunt. Oil companies and dishonest businessmen need crooked government officials to rob citizens. In any decent nation, accusations such as those made against Vice President Bharat Jagdeo would have seen the head of state acting swiftly to get to the bottom of a matter that is severely embarrassing and discrediting his administration. In fact, in any decent economy, earnest efforts would have already been made to investigate all loopholes, accusations, and giveaways to uncaring oil companies and other so-called investors who come to plunder the country's resources while giving very little in return. Oil companies and dishonest businessmen need crooked government officials to rob citizens. The Chinese said it themselves in the Vice News report. They would be worried if Guyana was not corrupt. What this means is that any time a foreigner comes to a country and is acting outside of the law and what is moral, they're not doing it in isolation. Our leaders are facilitating these illegalities. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar